All right, so tonight we have John Bolton, Newt Gingrich, Rudy Giuliani. They'll all join us. But first, you saw over the weekend the Washington Post, the New York Times, two abusively biased liberal mainstream media outlets published stories saying that the CIA, without any concrete or new evidence, they now think that Russian hackers tried to help Donald Trump win the election. Now, President-elect Trump reacted to these reports on Fox News Sunday. Take a look.
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's just another excuse. I don't believe it. I don't know why. And I think it's just, they talked about all sorts of things. Every week it's another excuse. If you look at the story and you take a look at what they said, there's great confusion. Nobody really knows. And hacking is very interesting. Once they hack, if you don't catch them in the act, you're not going to catch them. They have no idea if it's Russia or China or somebody. It could be somebody sitting in a bed someplace. I mean, they have no idea.
So why would the CIA put out this story that the Russians wanted you to win?
Well, I'm not sure they put it out. I think the Democrats are putting it out because they suffered one of the greatest defeats in the history of politics in this country. And frankly, I think they're putting it out.
So this morning, President-elect Donald Trump tweeted, "Can you imagine if the election results were the opposite and we tried to play the Russia-CIA card? It would be called a conspiracy theory," which, by the way, it is. Now, the president-elect, he's absolutely right about this. Now, earlier today, Clinton's campaign manager, John Podesta, he said that Electoral College electors have the right to see intelligence on potential Russian hacking before they vote on December 19th, 1 week from today. Now, can you imagine if the tables would turn and it was Donald Trump's campaign trying to do this? The left would go nuts. Now, before we get into the blatant hypocrisy on this issue, let's set the record straight. Let's lay the foundation. The left's recount scheme failed and failed miserably. So now they're going to blame the Russians. They'll blame hacking. Now, there's no smoking gun. What we are now seeing is President Obama, the Democrats, they're trying to politicize this issue to try and hurt and delegitimize Donald Trump. Now, according to a new report, the FBI is now reaching a much different conclusion than the CIA on all of this because they have not found conclusive evidence that Russia was actually trying to help Trump win the election. And government officials are now saying that the CIA's assessment of what happened isn't as clear-cut and definitive as what the liberal mainstream media is telling you and reporting. So, in other words, there is no consensus between the FBI and the CIA. And according to the New York Times, there is no new information, intelligence, or evidence from the CIA's investigation into these allegations. So then, why is this all of a sudden a big story? Now, the Daily Beast is also reporting that there's a revolt going on inside the CIA. Why? Because employees, quote, hate Trump's guts, and they don't like his national security advisor nominee, retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. And then you have never-Trumpers like Senator McCain and Lindsey Graham. Well, they're joining Chuck Schumer for a, quote, bipartisan investigation into so-called hacking when we have no new information, nothing new from before the election. Now, we shouldn't be surprised by any of this. Why? Because they all have one thing in common. They hate President-elect Trump. Now, if all these people care so much about these Russian allegations, then why didn't they feel the same way about Hillary Clinton's private server scandal and the great threat that that posed to our national security? You may remember when the FBI director, James Comey, said there was little doubt that foreign actors gained access to Hillary Clinton's emails. Remember this.
We did not find direct evidence that Secretary Clinton's personal email domain, in its various configurations since 2009, was hacked successfully. But given the nature of the system and of the actors potentially involved, we assess we would be unlikely to see such direct evidence. We do assess that hostile actors gained access to the private commercial email accounts of people with whom Secretary Clinton was in regular contact from her personal account.
And don't forget, Director Comey, he said Clinton's private server was less secure than a Gmail account. And according to Brett Baer's reporting from November, remember, authorities believe there was a 99% chance that up to 5 foreign intelligence agencies may have accessed Clinton's server and taken emails. So where was the great outrage from the left that is all up in arms now? And if they're so concerned about interference and influence, well, why didn't they care about the media and their collusion with the Clinton campaign? Remember WikiLeaks? Well, they exposed how the mainstream media was caught red-handed. What were they trying to do? Influence the election, help Hillary Clinton win. including interim DNC chair Donna Brazile leaking debate questions to the Clinton campaign. How about doing an investigation into that? How did they help Hillary cheat? Now, liberals in the media, well, they've also been pushing the idea that Russia used Julian Assange to try and impact the election and gave WikiLeaks access to John Podesta's inbox. Now, Assange has said that Russia did not give him the emails, and when I interviewed Julian Assange on my radio show, here's what he told me about the Democrats pushing a connection to Russia.
The Democrats are always speaking about how terrible McCarthyism was. And it was in many ways. But at least the USSR actually existed then, and there were actually Russian influence campaigns in the United States which were serious. What we're seeing now is Hillary Clinton and her campaign trying to whip up a neo-McCarthyist hysteria where she claims that effectively Donald Trump is an agent of the Russians, that WikiLeaks is an agent of the Russians. So what do we have here? We have, let's look at it objectively, we have the ruling party's preferred successor running around calling the opposition leader, in fact multiple opposition leaders, and the critical press foreign agents.
By the way, isn't that the very
terrible climate to permit?
All right, let's concede. Julian Assange is a controversial guy, and a lot of people have very strong opinions about him. All right, so let's put that aside for now. What Assange has done is he has exposed to America that we have a major cybersecurity problem. Obama could have fixed this 8 years ago. It's a problem that President Obama has done nothing to fix. And in the past couple of years alone, well, government agencies like the Office of Personnel Management, the IRS, the Department of Defense, the State Department, the White House have all been hacked, and the list goes on and on and on. So where was the outrage from Obama and the left on that? It wasn't much, and now they're up in arms over allegations of hacking because they lost an election, so they want to delegitimize the guy that won. Well, let's keep in mind that while Democrats fire up their fake moral outrage machine, well, what are we going to do about it now?